Hi, welcome to Art on the Brain. I'm Kelly Drake, and today I just was so inspired by this beautiful tree in our yard and all the amazing color that we have right now in the fall that I thought I'd show you how to approach that with watercolor and do a beautiful fall landscape painting. Okay, so starting out, this is a scene that I see every day on my drive home from town. It's a row of poplar trees that just turns bright yellow in the fall. The first thing I want to do is try to figure out where the different values are. I've outlined in pink the real light values, and now in green I'm outlining the mid-tone, the mid values, which is, as you can see, most of the painting will be mid-tones. And now I'm going to find the darkest colors, the darkest values, and kind of see how the balance is here. And I'll highlight those in purple. Okay, so starting out, now that I have my value map, I'm going to start out with 3 primary colors, but they're a little bit different from the usual primaries. I have cerulean blue, which is great for summer skies or fall skies, a quinacridone gold, and an I always pronounce this wrong, anthracenoid red, I believe. And I'm going to stick to those 3 colors throughout this painting until the end, and then I have a surprise for you. So starting out, I like to do a little bit of a value study in that cerulean blue. It does a couple things. First, it lets me know where those mid-tones are and helps me to leave the white where I need to leave it. And also it provides some unity beneath all the other colors so that there's always something tying it together. Almost everything will have this cerulean blue underneath it, either lightly or just a little bit of a mid value. So as you can see, I'm kind of getting the picture here just in a monotone. So now, I don't know if you can see in this picture, but when you look in that big yellow tree in the front there, which I'm really trying to emphasize, there's a little bit of blue sky showing through here and there, and I don't want to totally lose that so that it becomes just one big yellow glob. So I put in a few of those little blue peekaboo areas, and I'll make sure to paint around those so that they remain throughout the painting. Now I'm just putting in that middle value gold where I had the blue there. And as you can see, I a lot of times wet the paper first with clear water and then put the color in, and I think that gives me a little bit more natural feeling and gives you some variation in tone so that it doesn't look just flat. So now doing the same thing to the they're not bushes, they're kind of just brambles here along the side of the road, along that row of poplar trees. But what's nice about those is the perspective that it gives. You see how the road really draws you into this painting. So does that row of bushes or brambles on the side, on both sides of the road, really. It reinforces those greens and golds that are in the poplar trees, and it also you can really see that getting smaller as you go toward the horizon. So it helps to draw your eye in. Now I'm going to put some of that gold over the white and see how different it is over the white than it is over the areas that I shaded with blue. It's much brighter and just already standing out when you look at it with the rest of the painting. I noticed that when I painted that, I didn't paint the whole thing gold. I left white. Even though when you look at the picture, there's not necessarily white in that area, it does kind of look like sparkles or sunlight hitting that tree. So, and always with watercolor, it's just a hard, fast rule with traditional watercolors to leave the white of the paper. in some areas of your painting. Otherwise, the whole thing goes flat. It's really hard to get that back. So now I'm looking at these trees on the right, the really bright yellow ones. I had noticed there's some shading in there. It's not all one value of gold, so I'm just putting in some of that shading and seeing if I can get some of the shape of the trees in there, using the quinacridone gold just straight out of the tube right now. And just putting down clear water and then putting the quinacridone gold right into the water, so it gets that soft edge, and it looks more like the natural tree shapes from when you're looking at it from a distance than it would if you put in those hard edges. I think in this case, sometimes my nearsightedness does help when I'm painting a landscape, because I can look at it and see the bigger shapes without getting too involved in the details, because my eyes don't see those details. Put my glasses on and all those details show up. So if you do wear glasses for nearsightedness, take them off once in a while and look at the scene and see if you see the larger shapes and the values better without your glasses than with. And sorry if you have perfect eyesight, you're just going to have to squint a little bit and look at it that way. But I think it's important with the landscape painting to look at the bigger picture and not get too involved in all the detail. Especially not until you get to close to the end of your painting. So now I've used my neutrals. For those of you who are used to color mixing, you know that if you mix 3 primaries together, you'll get a brown or a gray. And you can get all sorts of browns or grays with these 3 primary colors. So I mixed my blue and red and yellow together until I got a brown that I was satisfied with for these tree trunks. And I'm going to put in some of the darks now, just so that I get a feel for the structure of this painting and have a dark to measure my mid values against. And plus it's fun now at this point to get out your small brush and put in all these little tree branches, because it really gives the whole painting its character. And it's okay to me to use a little creative license here, as long as I get the main feel of these branches. They don't have to be perfect. No one's going to drive along this road and see that I didn't get all my branches right. At least I hope they won't. So now I'm thinking that wasn't quite dark enough, so I'm going to mix my 3 primary colors into that same neutral, kind of a gray-brown color, and go over some of these tree trunks and branches again so that they show up more. I wanted more contrast. Contrast is really important in watercolor painting, because you're trying to get these colors that you're seeing out in nature, and maybe your colors aren't quite as vivid as they are when you see that sunlight hit that tree. And so you have to use tricks to get it to look brighter than the actual paint does. One of those tricks is to increase the contrast, and that's what making those tree trunks darker really helped with. I'll show you a couple more tricks further on down the road here. And now just getting some of those horizontal shadows across the road. And those are also some of my darker values, but I had to mix a different neutral, so I needed that to be cooler to look like shadows across pavement. So I mixed basically the same neutral as I did for the tree trunks, but added more of that cerulean blue in. And maybe a little bit more of the red too. There's also shadows under these bushes on the left, and some shadows in the landscape in the background. also some shadows along the side of the road here. So now I notice there's a little more green in these bushes or brambles along the side here. So I just mix some green with my blue and yellow. And because the yellow especially is not a true yellow, it's more of a gold, I get a pretty natural feel from that green, even without mixing in any of the third primary, which is nice. Okay, now I've let that all dry, and looking at the road here, it's not holding together like I wanted to with all those shadows going across, and it needs to be darker. So I mixed another cool neutral, pretty cool, and I'm just going to go over that road again. It doesn't have to be flat, so I'm going ahead and putting in a little bit of lighter areas and darker areas to still lead the eye into the road. And see how that kind of pulled all those shadows together, and you still see road, not a bunch of little pieces. Okay, so now here's another one of those tricks I was talking about. I want those trees in the foreground to be brighter, but I can't make my paint any brighter, so I'm not only making the sky a little darker, but also making it a little more violet, which is a complementary color to that gold, close to a complementary color. And so that's going to make those trees pop a lot more than they already are. You can already see that they're standing out more. And it also balances out the painting between the sky and the road. I don't want the sky to be so pale that it just, the road and the sky compete. So I'm just using my tiny brush and using more of that neutral color, neutral gray, and putting in those lines, the power lines, which also lead the eye into the composition. That's all these tricks to lead your eye into the painting. We've got the road going into, this is basically a one-point perspective into one point in the horizon. The trees start out large in front and get smaller and smaller toward the horizon, as do the bushes or brambles on the side. And then those power lines just really complete the picture. Okay, still wasn't totally satisfied with that road. I still wanted it darker. So mixed more neutral, and after that had totally dried, put another layer on. Watercolor is all about layering, and it's okay to achieve your values with several layers. You don't have to do it all at once. In fact, it's probably better to do it this way so that you don't get too dark too fast. Now just adding some dimension to some of the vegetation on the side there by adding some shadow, and also completing that flat area next to the road so it doesn't just meld into the bushes and look like all one piece. I also thought, since I mixed this more neutral gold with a little bit of the blue and red mixed in, I would go in and kind of complete some of those shadows in there. I noticed in looking at the picture that there's more shadow in next to the tree trunks, and so I want it to be a little more realistic and hold together better. Putting some of that darker, more neutral color in on the mid-tone trees too, to get those to sit back and more toward the horizon. So I really want these ones in the front to come out at you. So just completing the shading on those trees, and also adding more contrast so that upper part with the gold really stands out more. And now is where I cheat on my 3-color process. I have a beautiful bright yellow color that I found in my watercolor tubes. Took that out and put a wash over that front tree, and now mixing it around a little bit in the painting just to bring out some of that glow of the sunlight that really wasn't there before. It really helps sometimes after you've stuck to your 3 colors or really limited your colors. In the end, sometimes you see what is it, that one color that you really need, and you can put that in to just complete your painting. So now I have a pretty decent watercolor painting of those gorgeous golden poplar trees along the road on my drive home. I hope you've enjoyed this demonstration and picked up a few good tips for your own autumn color paintings. Also, please take a little time to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more like this. And if you want to know more about me, my artwork, and my children's books, please check out my website and my Facebook page.